volvemos otra vez.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Esto sigue igual.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Nos ha puesto una barricada en el cuarto de la limpieza. Está hasta los
Coming to a
cojones.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf. Looking behind paint, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Tío, me cago. Joder. Déjame avanzar, cabrón.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
¿Y si lo apagamos? Lo de que ponía o...
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this
En verdad no
place
sabemos
hold?
si se puede
Stanley
solucionar
thought to
cuando le damos
himself.
a lo de
Did he
que
have the
explota.
strength to find
He
out?
visto el botón rojo al último momento, pero no he visto ni el verde, ni el azul, ni los números, ni nada. Y para repetir otro final, o sea, para repetir otra vez lo que hemos hecho, le voy a dar a love ahora.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over an... blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Bueno, puerta, llámalo puerta, ¿sabes?
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Beat the game. Logro desbloqueado Beat the game. ¿Nos hemos pasado el juego? ¿Nos escapamos de la...? Pues parece que sí. Uno de los finales, al menos. Vale. Ok. Pues seguimos. Seguimos.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vale, antes hemos hecho derecha 2 veces, así que vamos a hacer izquierda. A ver qué pasa. Ah, y lo del ordenador, Christian, no ha pasado nada.
Yet there was not a single person
Así
here
que no
either.
sé qué ha pasado.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
Hemos entrado
hoping he might
en
find an
uno
answer
de los
there.
finales y el narrador ha dicho en plan, no, otra vez no, por favor, no sé qué. Y ahora ha puesto barricadas para que no entremos. Está hasta los huevos del...
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No sé qué onda con ese ordenador, ya, no sé. Y esto de aquí...
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all...
Ya hemos salido del final. Joder, es que es largo ese, ¿eh? Y lo he repetido 3 veces sin querer, tío. Lo siento, pero... Joder. ¡No! Ay, señor.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Es que estoy renderizando... Cuando he ido a por agua he puesto a renderizar otro vídeo del stream del otro día y me la estoy jugando. Aunque el Stanley Parable no sea un juego exigente,
When Stanley
jugar,
came to a
streamear
set
y
of two
renderizar
open
un
doors,
vídeo...
he entered the door on his left.
Vale, a ver. El final de la galaxia que hemos repetido 3 veces es puerta izquierda y bajar las escaleras. Si las subimos, vamos a lo del jefe. Del código en la pared, que luego está el montacargas, el no sé qué y el botón on-off. ¿Qué podemos hacer? Podemos hacer izquierda, jefe y hacer algo... o on y solucionarlo o algo. Había un pasillo de escape. Es verdad, lo del escape. También está lo del escape a la izquierda. Y la derecha... ¿La derecha qué era? Era para salir a la... a lo de las máquinas, ¿no? No. Ve ahí a ver, vale, sí. Vamos a hacer el pasillo. Izquierda...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase,
Arriba.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Del jefe...
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new
Dos,
passageway. Kill surprise.
No veo el cursor, tío. 4... No. ¿Por qué no veo el punto blanco ahora? Tío, pues sí es súper... Joder, acertar al número sin ver el... 2... 2... 4... Era 8. 2... 8... 4... ¿5? Me quiero cortar los huevos. Vale, esto solo se puede ir por aquí, la cargas.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that
Vamos por el
read
escape.
Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Fantástico, planazo. Un lunes tarde,
The
morir.
door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on
Nah,
track.
mate.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Es morir. Literalmente es morir.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
The fuck?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Se trabó todo el directo, no jodas. ¿Qué va? No. Creo que solo me pasó a mí.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
¿Qué cojones es esto, tío? Nature paintings. Ajá. Ok. Stanley's computer. Vale. Estamos como en un museo donde hay como props puestos de la oficina y hay como maquetas de los recorridos que tomamos estudiados para que tomemos los caminos que debemos tomar. Y además ya no nos habla el narrador, nos habla otra voz femenina. The Office. Que es lo que he dicho yo antes, que hay alguien por encima del narrador que... Button sounds. Selection of sounds. Buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a finger stroke. What? ¿Qué cojones? Lo de los stickers no se puede. Tengo que configurarlo aún. Es lo de los emojis del canal. Tengo que montarlo. La sala de test que usaban para probar las vainas. Yep. No veo nada, güey. Se trabó todo. Pues los otros lo ven. Cristian, reinicia el directo. Stanley Parable credits. Clock. Ahora sí puedo ver, nice. Boss Office. Screens from the development of Boss Office. Employee lunch. Early version of the underground portion of the game. Se escuchaba el narrador durante un momento.
Stanley walked over the bridge. And finally, he pushed the button behind. See, Stanley walked through the green door. Stanley pushed.
Freedom Ending. Ah. No, es que... No creo que haya tanto espacio. Estaba pensando que el museo quizás era como una exposición de todo lo que has ido viendo. Y si nosotros no hubiésemos hecho el Freedom Ending, esto estaría aquí, no creo, ¿no? This was the very first incarnation of the Freedom Ending in the game's alpha. I don't know. Freedom Ending. Hostia, pica el ojo. El montacargas. Countdown Room. Y es on-off. Exit. Vale, vamos a ir por ahí. Vale, más cosas. Oficinas. Stanley's Office. Screenshots of this HD remix. The Office. Uno, cero. Apparently, in a previous version of the show, the apartment in the timer would give option. Would lead to a different ending. Ajá. Meeting room. Zending. This is an early version of ending. Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. Zending levers. Trailers. ¿Qué cojones? ¿Eso qué es? Todos los finales. Todos los finales no, porque yo solo he visto 3 cuadros de finales, pero son como cosas del juego, menús del juego, elementos del juego. What? ¿Por qué se ha levantado un botón ahí? Es un museo de los developers. Pues nos vamos por aquí.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
No se puede hacer nada más, o sea que... Off.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You...
Hostias.
Stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
F. Chafaron. Nos chafaron nomás. ¿Y ahora qué? F por el pobre Stanley. Pero no pasa nada ahora. Está en negro y no... The fuck. F. ¿Pero qué pasa, tío? Tengo que... No me jodas, tengo que quitar el de esto, el juego. La partida se encuentra en pausa. Nah. No se encuentra en pausa, cabrón. Está en negro. O sea que hemos muerto. Literalmente. Y no de... Ok. Guardar. No, no se puede hacer nada. Pues volver a comenzar, ¿no? ¿O no? O la he liado parda. Y no se me habrá guardado nada de las decisiones anteriores. Soy yo, esto está
All of his
muy
co-workers were
diferente.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Welcome to the whiteboard ending. Console bark. Si no hay texto, ¿qué bark? Si esto no es un ending. Logro desbloqueado, you can jump. El ending de la pizarra y no hay ending. Fantástico.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Bye bye. Sabaduría, vaya bien. Hay endings que no acaban el juego. Ok. Pues que tampoco me han dicho nada. Era whiteboard ending, ya está. Ni narrador diciendo cosas, ni texto, ni nada. Vaya ending. Vamos a ir por la derecha.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Esto hemos hecho las dos cosas. Nos hemos puesto en el montacargas, hemos pasado de largo. Y por aquí hemos ido, pero al principio del juego, no ahora, que estamos como en bucles.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't
no, pues
5
será lo
years
mismo,
ago.
¿no? Fuck. Será lo mismo, creo.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've got... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Nice. Pensaba que íbamos a entrar en un... Ah, y ahora es distinto esto. Y se oye algo, está como lloviendo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
¿Qué se oye? Lluvia, tío. Esto sigue apagado. Esto no se abre, ¿no?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
A ver, derecha está... Montacargas, seguir de largo... Y lo que acabamos de hacer. Lo que acabamos de hacer es o tirarse, que lo hemos hecho, o seguir para adelante, que también lo hemos hecho. El montacargas. No me acuerdo dónde te llevaba el montacargas. Seguir para adelante era lo de la línea. Y la izquierda... Bajar es lo que hemos... lo de las estrellas. Seguir por la de esto de escape es lo que acabamos de hacer. Y seguir recto es lo de off-on. Que lo de off lo hemos hecho y lo de on lo hemos hecho, pero hemos muerto. Hay algún ending en el que ella me quiera. Sad moment. No sé qué hacer. Creo que voy a probar lo del on y escaparme de la bomba. Pero...